Hello, everyone. Welcome to a week that was 10 years in the making. I am Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who's ever sick. I give you the sick and down, the BRENT.
Hey, everybody. I feel like it's been 10 weeks.
It does.
10 years.
This is the longest 2 weeks in the history of ARG. We're sorry we missed you last week. We're back, more or less. I was down for several days this past week, and Brent's been sick for seemingly months.
It feels it.
Do you have emphysema or something, man? What's going on?
My sinuses are messed up anyway.
Yeah.
So whenever I get something sinus related, it doesn't go away.
Poor Brent couldn't even hardly speak last Sunday, so we'd rescheduled it for Wednesday, and then we were both sick.
Yeah.
So we were like, listen, we'll have to eat this one. So we were a week late. We owe you 1 week of show. And, of course, since we scooted right past the Halloween season, we missed out on all the fun of Halloween, but I wasn't going to waste the awesome Duncan Styles Stranger Things opening that you saw at the beginning of the show. So, what have we done in these 10 weeks, Brent? Well, we've looked at the last thing. I
coughed a lot.
I can clearly, that's obvious. We're going to look at the last game we spun on the wheel. It's been so long ago, Brent. Can you remember the wheel, the round thing? We spin it. There's lights. There's music. We spun something on that. Do you recall what it was?
Did I win?
No, you lost, my friend. For this week, we'll be taking a look at the incredibly rare ATARI Falcon.
Yeah, you aren't kidding.
These things are super duper rare, Brent. Now, what do you know?
Nothing.
You didn't know any, but you'd heard of the Falcon,
No,
surely.
no.
So you'd never even
Only
heard
the
of
bird
Falcon.
and possibly the football team.
Right, well, I'll put it this way. The Atari Falcon and the Atlanta Falcons have similar winning ways. You know what I mean? So I took a deep look at the Atari Falcon, because I have to say, it was something that's interested me for a long time. It was my idea to put this in the wheel, so I'll take the bullet here on this thing. So what is the Atari Falcon? Well, not being, I was an Atari computer guy for quite a while.
Yeah.
I still am, love them. But I never got high into the ST level, because the Atari ST series really wasn't much of a thing here in the States, was it, Brent? I mean, do you know anyone that had an ST?
Nope.
I may have known a guy, but if he had one, it must have been for Flash, because he was a music guy. That's why he would have had one. But the Atari ST line was far more popular in Europe.
Yeah.
Even more so than the Amiga, which had some popularity here, albeit a slight bit, whereas the Falcon or the Atari ST had no popularity. So what you had here with the Atari Falcon was Atari's answer to basically the Amiga 1200. This was going to be the Atari ST computer that lifted the series up to contend with the higher echelon computers from Commodore, the Amiga series, the Amiga 1200 and the AGA Amigas. And so, unfortunately, at the time, the Atari ST was on its way out. And so this was too little too late, I'm afraid. But let's get into it a little bit. So, the Falcon, and you'll see it referred to as the Falcon 030. That's because It's got a 6830 in it. Running at 16 megahertz, and this could all be expanded. Sort of like the Amiga, there were expansions to crank this thing up. This was the immediate successor to the Atari 520 STE and the Atari TT30. It came out 1992 and was discontinued from production in '93. Very, very short lifespan. Now,
That's crazy.
let's talk about the Atari, the actual machine itself. So, if you see an Atari Falcon, you basically are seeing a Atari ST case.
Right.
And why do they do that? Well, I think
Money?
that's right. These run pretty much in the same case. Now, we've never actually handled an Atari ST, have we, Brent? At least I haven't.
No, I certainly have not.
So I had to go on and get one of these 3D models and kind of look around and watch some videos. And so what you've got, really, it's quite interesting, actually, Brent. The Atari ST line is known for having some dumb things and some smart things. The Falcon, if you look underneath the Falcon, underneath, on the bottom of it, like on the underneath part, there are a couple Atari-style joystick ports, classic Atari joystick ports. there's like a little chamber that sort of runs out from underneath the area where the number pad is, and that's where the cables are supposed to come out. This is widely hated.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea.
Yeah, it's a hideous idea. And Joe, I will say this: you've got to give Atari credit. Having idiotic joystick port locations was their bag, because actually they did a great job on a few systems. You know, you've got like the one that springs to mind is my Atari XEGS, which has the joystick connections at a diagonal off to the side, which is hideous. But someone said hold my beer when they designed this one. Now, I will say that was done for sort of a reason on this machine. Now, off to the side of this thing, you've got your standard 3.5-inch floppy disk drive built in.
Yep.
Now, this was a high-density disk drive. Along the back of this thing, you see your standard, pretty much your standard ports back there. One thing that I always found interesting on this thing was on the left side of the machine, you've got some interesting ports. Now, here's the pop quiz, hotshot. What was the Atari Falcon's claim to fame in terms of use?
It was named after a bird.
No, incorrect. Its claim to fame was it came with built-in. They came with the machine MIDI ports, right? MIDI ports used for music.
Okay.
Okay. And
I did not know that.
Oh yes, that's what the Atari's main use. All the ST lines, they were aimed. They became quite a music machine, even more so than the Amiga, because they had these built-in MIDI ports, and so it made them you could instantly hook these things up to synthesizers and whatnot and get busy. Okay. The Falcon had two MIDI ports. It's funny, the MIDI ports are cunningly located on the side where I would have put the joysticks probably, but Atari wasn't done yet, because when the Falcon came out, they were in the process of launching the Jaguar, the Atari Jaguar. You'll recall, Brent, I believe you came on board during the Jaguar episode. Didn't we play pinball and something else? Bubs, yeah. So that's funny. It's just a throwback. So the very first episode almost is your last, because we've got full circle. The Jaguar had unique non-Atari standard joysticks, didn't it? Well, sure enough, on the side of this thing is an Atari Jaguar joystick port. So this thing could take Atari Jaguar joysticks right out of the box. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the Jaguar game port only supported games that had code written to support that port. So you couldn't put in the Jaguar joystick and play every game. It's
right.
As best I can tell. Now, and that comes into play in a little bit when we get into some of the games we picked this week. I mentioned that the Falcon had the 32-bit Motorola 6830. This was a very capable processor. Of course, this is the exact same processor that you'll see in some Amigas. The 68000 from Motorola. This thing had an excellent Motorola 56001 DSP for sound processing, and this thing had really good sound. It was which is basically what it was there for. Atari adopted the IDE bus, so they had the IDE and SCSI for some of their stuff, which you could for CD-ROMs and IDEs. To be honest with you, I don't know if anyone used the SCSI for a CD on this or CD-ROM this or not. I don't think there was one formally released.
I saw in the emulator you could hook SCSI stuff up to it.
Yeah,
but for what, I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. This was out for such a short amount of time that it didn't even really matter. I mean, there wasn't enough time to get into it. Now, there had been a planned 6840 Motorola processor to be put in this thing to jack up the speed a little bit, but that got canceled. Which obviously a lot of stuff got canceled, and there was not much you could do about it. Now, this was my first foray. I want to talk about this before we get into our games. This is my first foray into screwing around with the ST style desktop.
Yes.
Now, because the emulation of this machine, which I used an emulator called ATARI, which seems to be the ipso facto emulator for the ST line. It's funny because when we played ST games on the ST episode, I don't remember having this much trouble doing stuff. I think those games are more refined because from what I could tell, there weren't a ton of games formally released specifically for this machine.
Right.
And the ones that were let's just say they were clunky. How about let's go with that. I guess there was not very much adoption of this, and so what you got was just some people that were just throwing stuff out there. It's funny. Eventually, this machine, they gave up on releasing these things, and they ended up being picked up by a music company in '95. So keep in mind now, this thing had a run from '92 to '93. In '95, the music company C-Lab bought the rights to the Falcon hardware and began making new ones. This is very similar to what happened with the Amiga 4000, when the Commodore passed on, their stuff was bought out and someone else made them. This is when you got something called the Falcon Mark I, and that was the 030, and then they released something called the Mark II, which according to what I read here, they tackled some of the issues from the original design to make it more useful in a recording studio. All right, so they put in some different sorts of audio jacks and whatnot. I should mention that this thing had onboard power. It's quite heavy from what I've heard. So it was actually, and I noticed that the power jack in the back was your standard, like a PC power jack now.
Yeah.
It's just a big, the big cabling thing, which is pretty cool. This thing, though, died. And why did it die? I mean, granted, it got used musically on down the line, but what happened to it? Well, what happened to it was Atari made a decision. Their plan initially was to release the Falcon in Europe, get a good base, because they had a good user base over there, and then bring it to America. Well, they scrapped that plan because it didn't sell all that well. I should mention that as far as I could tell, looking at numbers here, the amount of these things sold, I mean, it was incredibly low. As far as I could tell, and I consulted a bunch of forums and tried to find everything I could.
I'm going to guess 15,000.
Well, actually, for once, you're not too far off. As far as I could tell, they sold between 10 and 14,000 of these, and I think that's including the C-Lab stuff. I think.
That's incredibly low.
Yeah, it is.
That's incredibly low.
The sad truth of this is, this was an excellent machine, and in some ways, it trumped the Amiga 1200. It was a good little machine. The problem is,
I don't know, man.
Atari. Well, I mean, listen. I know we had trouble with it, but I mean that stuff can be ironed out. That's software. And the sad truth of the matter is, this thing was a pretty good little machine, and it's widely held as an excellent machine. It's very in demand, especially with 10 to 14,000 available.
Yeah.
But Atari decided to basically get out of the PC business effectively, and concentrate, put all their efforts towards backing the Atari Jaguar. If you can think, it sounds hilarious now, but it actually happened. And so when the Jaguar went down, it took Atari with it totally, because they had put all their eggs in one basket with it, withdrawing from the PC market. It's sort of sad, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. Atari, this is back way past Atari's heyday.
Yeah.
And they were a business that would not change. They always held on to that party mentality. Now I don't know about these years. The Jaguar.
No, they weren't partying these years. I can tell you that.
But the simple fact of the matter is, they were trying to get into a market that had pushed them out.
Well, you've got to recall, Jack Tramiel was at the helm of Atari, the Tramiel family. They had it's funny, I just watched a video. It was a great video that was shared on our Discord. Join our Discord, by the way. And it was Jack Tramiel at a trade show talking about the ST line, and he went back to his old line, computers for the masses, not the classes, because the Atari ST, while it was a little less powerful than the upcoming Amiga, this would have been in '85. It was priced about half as much, and that was their bag. And I think the Falcon had performance that was good, but it was hard to meet that. It's hard to meet a low price point like that. And they had splintered. They had lost a lot of people to the Amiga and to the PC at this point.
Yes.
And really, the bottom of the truth is, in my opinion, they were just as doomed as Commodore was, because everyone was getting squeezed out by the PC at this point. The PC was just in '92 was beginning to pick up all the cool stuff that these other machines had. Now the ST probably is still in use in some studios, because that's what it did. It was highly integrated in studios, but as a mass production machine, it was dead. And when the Falcon came out, it was stillborn. It was dead on arrival. It had no chance, which is a shame, because it seems to be a pretty capable system. I don't think, given a year of development on it, what we saw doesn't scratch the surface of the power it would have had. So it's kind of another sad tale, Brent, and a sad way for Atari to go down. A company that had been in the computer business, the consumer computer business, since Jump Street.
Yeah.
In fact, in my house right now, I've got several Atari computers. Of course, you were talking about the 8-bit line, tremendous 8-bit line, and all the way up to the XEGS and all the all those which are more like advanced 8-bit systems. So this was a tough way to go down, especially when you're breaking out a nice 32-bit system. So it's kind of a bummer, but what are you going to do? So, hey, we come across a lot of corpses on this show, man. We just keep on trudging. So we were tasked with looking at a couple of these games. Now, I will be honest with you. There was not our rules were find something that runs exclusively on the Falcon.
Right.
Okay?
That was hard.
And we literally were babes in the wilderness here. We were feeling our way around. So I'm going to preface this by saying we did the best we could, given the situation. And it's funny, had I had it to do over again, I might have picked a different game. I don't know if you would have.
No, I wouldn't have.
Because my game is bizarre. So let's just go ahead. We'll do my game first to get the preliminary out of the way.
Yeah.
So, I'm an arcade guy, Brent, and so I thought, well, maybe there's a good port that they did, and I can use this to scope the power of this particular item. And so I went arcade with Road Riot 4-wheel drive, or 4WD. Now, this was an arcade game. First of all, I guess I should ask you, have you ever played this game, Brent, in the arcade?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay, you're kidding me.
No, certainly I played this.
And where did you see it at?
These were in local cinemas.
I'm not sure I ever saw it,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. So, just a little bit about the arcade game. The arcade game came out in, gosh, it was way back. I think it was in late '92, early '93.
Right.
And so, what you had here was a game where you are driving a four-wheel drive monster truck, or something.
It was not
something along those lines.
The feeling I think that they were going for was something larger than like a pickup truck.
Yeah.
But not quite as monstrous as like a Bigfoot, big wheel run over everything.
Right.
I think it was aiming to be something right there in the middle.
What it reminded me of was if you've ever played like a Cruising USA or something like that, it kind of went down that path. Well, listen, but you know what I'm talking about here. That's my point.
Yeah, I do.
The truth of the matter is, this is your standard Cruising USA style game. Okay, the arcade version, and I will say the Amiga or the Falcon version is very similar. So you get to pick a track. Now this thing came in several cabinet flavors. They had they had just like a stand-up. Then they had sort of a multiple player, like a big sit-down kind of version. Can you imagine buying one of these and this is your game you've got in your house?
No. I would be so mad.
It'd be insanity. So you pick your car, truck, dune buggy, whatever you want. Now the twist in this game is that I found this odd. You've got weapons mounted to your vehicle, sort of like road blasters, right?
That was the most tacked on. What are we gonna do? Feature I've ever seen.
Did you see that? I mean, I didn't make any sense to me. You tacked on. I think you nailed it. So for whatever reason, you've got basically like a cannon hooked to your car that you can shoot other racers with.
It shoots the most unsatisfying paintball style ammunition.
It reminded me of it was just like freaking road blasters. I mean, when I say that, I mean the weapon. It looked like you're shooting the road blasters like the fuel balls.
Pickups, yeah.
So here you go down the road. Now, one thing that they did in this game is they had digitized women all over the place, and digitized the audience, and the trucks were digitized. I'm trying to think of a game that, like I said, again, this is much like Cruising USA did the exact same shtick, probably a little bit better.
A lot bit better.
And so you drive down effectively 11 tracks to win the championship.
No, you don't. You drive down the first track and then you turn it off.
Well, now we're talking about the arcade versions before we get into the.
Okay.
So, and these are the same in the Falcon version. You've got Saudi Arabia, which some of these places I don't think I'd take my dune buggy as I look through these. Saudi Arabia, Iowa. I swear to you, that's the next track. You got Africa, the Swiss Alps, Baja, Mexico, Antarctica, Ohio. What? Las Vegas, New Jersey, California, and Australia. You get to go to scenic New Jersey and Iowa and Ohio. These are not the places you would normally, Cruising USA, you're going through
Grand Canyon,
volcanoes and crabs. It's like you're driving your dune buggy through Iowa. So this is your standard road racing type game of the 90s. Digitized everything. I would say the effects that you see when you're on the road are okay. When you pick a track, aside from the fact that you get to go to the track, you get to compete against these horrible characters that come the track. If you're watching along at home, we're looking at Antarctica right now, which you get to go against her. These are all horrible, and that trend, by the way, continues in the sequel, which we'll get to. So. Again, this thing came in a dual set-down version, a stand-up version. I believe these could be linked up to 4, but I have no way of knowing that. So this game, I guess, was popular enough. Of course, it was done by Atari. I guess it was popular enough to spawn a home release. I mean, does that surprise you at all?
I don't think this game was popular at all.
Well,
I think they made a home release because they can make a home release.
I think you're probably right. And so, anyway, you race. That's all there is to it. The truth of the matter is, it's nothing unusual. So let's move on.
Oh no, there's lots of things unusual. But go ahead. I'll get to my synopsis in a bit.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Falcon version. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Researching this was difficult, and I had many questions as to what was going on here. For starters, I'm not 100% sure how this was distributed. I think it may have came on discs. I think high density discs.
That would
but
be
I can't prove that because as far as I could tell, I couldn't find any Falcon exclusive box art, for example.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
I think in that regard, I think there was an ST version of this. And then there was a Falcon version that had updated speed, graphics, something. That was the impression I got.
Well, the update didn't take, in my opinion, if I may be so bold as to say. So what you've got here on this thing is you've got the exact same game from the arcade, but it's just boiled down. It's actually, parts of it, I would say, they did a good job. Now let me talk about getting this thing going. I want to get into this because it was such a hassle.
It was not fun.
I downloaded the files, and you have to copy them on the hard drive. You had to make a hard drive file. Of course, this is all standard emulation stuff, but we didn't know what we were doing. But it took forever for me to figure this out. I had to watch guides. I know more about the Falcon's file operating system than any man needs to know. So if you're going to, I'll tell you right now, if you're going to emulate these games for home use, pack a lunch. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna be all up in it. So once I managed to rig up an Atari Falcon and rig up the hard drive, then I had to copy all the files over. Well, this also requires additional memory than a standard. So because my plan was to keep the Falcon in standard Falcon mode. Well, that ain't gonna happen. You gotta have more memory to run this thing. So I had to add more virtual memory. But I did finally get it to run, and boy was I rewarded with a fine game. And I will say, to back up my belief that this came on high density floppies, the load screens show a big, huge floppy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that's the way. But again, I don't have any evidence this was ever formally released. And I read people sort of bantering back and forth that the fact that I couldn't find a box that's worse. And I mean, we found boxes and stuff for like Yeti and stuff. I mean, real obscure stuff. So what did they do to this thing? Well, the frame rate, it would be the number one thing. The frame rate and the overall resolution have been knocked back a lot. Something else I learned the hard way was that this game requires a Jaguar controller. Now, of course, being emulation, I didn't have to go get my Jag controller and hook it up. But if you had a Falcon, this was going to require you to get the Jaguar controller. So then I had to learn how to get the emulator to do Jaguar. So that was a lot of fun too. So then after all this work, I'm playing the game. It plays pretty much like the arcade. You get you grab your Doom buggy, and then you get to pick your track and I will say it lets you pick whichever track you want.
Yeah.
From the main menu.
Standard fare.
Yeah, which is no, that's not standard. You don't. So a lot of times you have to progress.
In these racing games, that's pretty standard.
The move from the wheel to joystick, I'm sure, was not a fun one. Again, I don't remember ever playing this particular one in the arcade, but having played plenty of games like it, you always prefer the wheel to the actual controller pad. But this thing, I mean, I will say, the emulator did a good job, I think. The other problem I had with this thing was the frame rate was not that good. Now, you told me when you played this, you cranked up the processing power.
I put the largest processor that the emulator will let me have, the most RAM, the highest clock speeds. I juiced everything to the moon.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because doing that actually makes the OS run really bad.
Really?
Yeah.
It makes it run worse when it's better?
Take everything all the way to the max, the OS part of it is really, really, really slow.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of tweak around. I can't remember exactly what I ended up settling with. But getting this to run was harder than getting my game to run.
Yes. Yeah, I had less trouble with yours.
And I think it might have been because this wasn't an officially finished product.
Now, this is the information I've got on this game for the Falcon 030. This ran in a VGA/RGB mode.
The Falcon.
Right, which is a thing. And this was licensed from Tengen, which of course was Atari's side gimmick.
Licensed to themselves.
This particular version, according to what I read, was programmed by Mark Gordon, Anthony Mack, and Dave Thorburn. Okay?
I can't believe they had an English crew.
Yeah. Well,
is that surprised?
Well,
that's surprising to me.
It doesn't surprise me because it was done in the UK, so it doesn't surprise me.
You think? Okay.
Yeah. This was, and apparently that's where it was released. Again, I don't know if the Falcon was released in the United States. I don't think it was. If it was in incredibly small numbers. This also supports French as a language. You have to, at the bare minimum to run this thing, you have to have 4 megs of memory, which the Falcon did not come with that much. And it's now, from what this says, this did come on 2 high density floppy disks that need to be installed on the hard drive.
Yeah, that's when the files you get. That's what I got.
Okay.
Or two ST high density disks.
Yeah. So now this thing let you pick between rookie, intermediate, and pro.
It made no difference.
Well, no, it made a difference. I couldn't do anything on intermediate or pro, but on rookie I could stagger forward and I almost sort of kind of do okay. I went through all the tracks.
Wow.
I tried every track. Well, listen, I try to be thorough. And again, this game reminds me an awful lot of like Road Blasters with much more boring vehicles and much more boring countryside. I mean, the graphics are way better than Road Blast. Yeah,
No, they're not.
okay, I know. I edited myself. They're somewhat better. You do have on-screen track that keeps track of where you're at, which ironically, you notice that the little balls on the track look very much like the bullets.
Yeah.
You notice that? The background is. I mean, this I would put this firmly below, say, a Lotus 2 on the Amiga.
Oh gosh, not even comparison.
Well, I mean, this game runs like. What they tried to do was overextend there because putting in the digitized graphics, I assume, was a draw, and it made this thing run like crap. Now, I was wondering if my emulator just wasn't up to the task, and so I watched the videos, and every video I saw of this was pretty much running this crumbly.
Yeah,
it just doesn't run well. The gimmick in this game, aside from the fact that you can shoot your opponents, there's also crap that will creep in off the side of the track. I mean, there are, they do some different stuff. Some like there's like the Antarctic track has the ice. The Antarctic track looks sort of like it's got that sort of checkerboard type track instead of having like you know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but go ahead.
Anytime you go in the snow, but it's the same basic bear, homie. I didn't think it was that great. It was okay. If I had spent about a bunch of money on this and this was the game I'd picked up, I would probably not be that impressed. What were your thoughts on this bad boy, Brenny?
I hated this in the arcade.
Oh, you hated the arcade version?
Oh gosh, it was.
What did you not like about it?
This is a. There's electronic games where you just kind of do the mechanical ones where you've got your car and you're kind of steering back and forth as the treadmill goes on. That's what I feel like with this game.
I don't think it's that bad.
It is. It's a behind the car view where your car has like 4 frames of animation. It's either your car is pointing straight forward, slightly to the left, tremendously to the left, or slightly to the right, tremendously to the right angles. Yeah. Which is not, it's horrible because you can't judge. If you want to make a small adjustment, your car is still pointing forward. Now you start to slide one way or the other, but you don't know how far you have to turn until you click on that other frame of animation where you just slide right off the road.
It is funny. Your car almost handles like one of those LCD games in a way, where it has like a frame of you going forward,
yes.
Then there's a frame of you going like diagonal, then there's a frame of you scream into the curb.
Now,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong there. It didn't occur to me, but yeah.
So the game controls like crap, and for a driving game, that is one of the most important things. The visuals in this are poor. They're poor. I don't care what you.
I thought they looked okay.
You can digitize, but no, they're poor. They are. You and your enemy look pretty much exactly the same, except for a different color. When you shoot someone, they don't take damage or anything like that. They just blink. And then eventually
they go like all white, basically.
Well, right, they blink. That's what blinking is.
Well, okay. I mean, blinking can mean they disappear for a second, too.
And then
there's a difference.
Eventually, if they blink enough, they'll blow up. But it's you versus like 5 or 6 other people, and that's what it is too. You have a rival, but you don't really race against the rival. You race against the rival gang, and so you have to beat all the people. If you don't come in first, you lose.
Yeah.
I hate that. The whole gun edition, crap. The tracks in this, crap. The obstacles on the track, crap. If you are not in the dead center of the road at all times, you risk hitting something on the side of the road that you can't see until it's too late, and you wreck. And your car flips over, or it blows up or whatever, and you respawn and you have to go again. That's garbage. There's no time to react to things coming on screen. You do have this kind of faux rearview mirror in the middle of the screen.
I love the rearview mirror because things just sort of come out of the ether.
You don't see what's behind you.
No.
You just see cars when they come up. It's crap. literally, I'm trying to think of a positive thing to say about this game.
Hot chicks.
No, they're not. They're pixelated garbage. I can't think of a positive thing to say about this game.
Wait a minute. It almost seems like you weren't wholly satisfied with this game.
And being that it was so difficult to get running on top of all that, even though it doesn't affect how I view the game as a game, but my experience overall. Why would you seek this out? Why would anyone?
I didn't know.
Why would anyone take the time to try to find this and play it? First off, if you're going to do that, play the arcade version. Get disappointed, but in an easier to load way.
There's also a Super Nintendo version.
Well, this game is just the worst. Just the worst.
He didn't like it. I should mention there was an unreleased Lynx version as well, which I'm sure that's gold, top dollar gold money.
I believe we had a user review.
We actually had a user review and an interesting comment I thought I'd throw in here at the end. So our good buddy Graham, he braved the emulation, gave this a whirl. He liked it a lot more than you. Graham writes, "This game to me is a blend of elements from Buggy Boy, Mario Kart, and Death Track." Wow, that is quite a blend. And I didn't realize this was an arcade port until I did some more reading into the game. Essentially, you can choose a track, race in a buggy, and shoot missiles at the players. I guess you could call those missiles. The gameplay is fine for an arcade racer. It looks similar to the arcade game. It sounds okay too, but it feels like it's missing something. Maybe it's the overall difficulty after the beginning track. As objects are so huge, you can't avoid them. It was fun for a little while. 6 out of 10. So Graham gave it a 6. Brent, pretty good. Now, this is.
I would give this a 3.
I just thought this was amusing. So, since we talked about the arcade game so much, our good buddy Rob Flack O'Hara from You Don't Know Flack wrote in because Flack, much like ourselves, is an arcade collector from way back, and Flack writes. Road Riot 4x4, one of the most cantankerous machines I ever owned. There's something about those controllers that say, please, small children, see how many pull-ups you can do while hanging onto this thing. Just getting it aligned was a chore, and the buttons worked when they chose to. It developed a problem where the checksum would fail, and I fired it up cold. But if I waited a few minutes and rebooted, it would come up okay. Also, like other Atari games I owned, I'm pretty sure they put concrete in the bottom of the cabinet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure this weighed 400 pounds. It was fun on rare occasions when it worked. I'm glad it finally died so I could get rid of it. A ringing endorsement for the Flack on that one. So overall, so what we're saying is this was not popular.
No, do not seek this out, folks.
I didn't know. So Brent, we've drudged through that. That's why we put my game first, so we could get to the main event of the evening.
Yes.
Tell the good people the game from the pantheon of titles, Falcon. Which one did you choose this week?
I chose the exclusive.
Can you say that again?
Can only be played on the Falcon.
Yeah.
Radical Race.
Oh, okay.
This was made by a French outfit. I'm not even going to try to go through and mention their names because I would just butcher them. The publisher for this, though, was Logitron. This was released. This I've got conflicting, although there is no information on this game.
Yeah.
Some people say it came out in 95. Some people said it came out in 96. Either way, that's 2-3 years after the death of the system.
Yeah.
So
ballsy.
That's bad.
Ballsy to release that game at that point.
That is bad. This ran in that VGA/RGB
right.
Falcon resolution.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mystery resolution.
Well, I mean, it's a mystery for us because we don't know what we're talking about.
This was a game that required to be installed on a hard drive.
Yeah. Tell the people how you had to install this.
Yeah, you basically had to slide the files over onto your own homemade hard drive.
As far as the version we got, there was no installation. You literally just copied the crap over.
Yeah.
Thank God they came up with installation routines back when like Windows 3 was around, but no one got the memo over to the Falcon.
And what this is a top-down racing game, sort of like your Sprint or your, for Nintendo fans out there, RC Racing. That sort of.
It reminded me of Supercars. If you played that on the Amigo.
Yeah, there are tons of games that did this sort of view. And it handles a 3D perspective really, really well. There are jumps and bumps, and you'll go under bridges, and you really get a nice three-dimensional feeling on the tracks, which you've got to have on these type of things.
Yeah, I mean, there were games that did this sort of game that were early on, but they weren't as much fun. You know what I mean? They without the 3D view, you get back to like the old days of Atari. You know?
Sure,
yeah.
sure, and that's really I would assume this could have probably ran on other systems. Certainly different, Amigas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think this could have probably. I don't think. Do you think there was anything on this that had to be on a Falcon?
Oh God, no. Like I said, this ran. You could play this on this game, maybe even looking a little bit better on like an Amiga 500. I mean, it was. But I mean, it did run. Listen, I look at the games. Is the game run well? Is it any good? And this game did run well. Did it show off the potential of the Falcon? No, but I don't think any game really did.
So in this game, you choose a driver, and oddly enough, they have this weird mesh of amateur art for like your driver pictures and your car, and I would assume these were placeholder graphics that the game was taking so long became real graphics. I can't imagine this was their initial vision because it looks super amateurish and just weird.
I'm gonna go with stylized.
No, because it doesn't fit with the rest of the style. I mean, you can get away with this kind of art if your entire game is this kind of art, but the cars and the racetracks are. I'm not gonna say realistic because that's certainly not it, but it's more of a classic sprite feel. And this art is all hand-drawn, colored pencil art. So there's a big clash there, in my opinion. However, you can pick different drivers, and the different drivers have different statistics on things like, how fast they can go, how powerful their projectiles are. Oh, by the way, because you can't, apparently, the Atari Falcon can't have a game without guns. Well, this has weapons latched onto
There were
it.
plenty of Amiga. It's funny, I had the exact same thought on, there were a couple of the Amiga games that were just like this that also had felt tacked on with guns.
Yeah.
I felt the exact same way. It doesn't make any sense. We come from that old Iron Man Stewart sort of, but there you don't need a gun. It's just fun enough just to drive. But not everyone agrees.
And this game even has turbo features, which I think just having the turbo features along with the style of racing it would have been a fine game. But they added in weapons, which is fine. And you can drop mines. And between races, when you win, you spend money to up these statistics.
Yeah.
Which is a neat little feature.
If not original.
Oh no, nothing about this game is original. Zero.
Yeah.
Zero about its original. But it gives you something to do, and it gives you a reason to race, which is probably why it's there. The actual racing in this game is very drifty. When you start to go around a corner, you really slide into the corner, which is sort of common for these type of games. So it does take quite a bit of skill, and you can't just lay on the gas all the time. You have to slow down, speed up. There are alternate paths on almost all the tracks that will either open up, or you can brave them to kind of squeeze them between the obstacles. And it's all about getting around the track. You don't have to go around every corner. You can cut through the grass. I love this type of game. I love it.
Right. I'm sure that had no small part of you picking it.
No, I picked this because it was the first game that I could find that I could verify was only for the Falcon.
Yeah, that was difficult.
That was a big selling point for me picking this game. However, once I got it and I got playing it, it plays well, it runs well. The controls are a little loose for my taste. I did play this with a keyboard, not a joystick, but that wouldn't have mattered. Because unless you have analog, which nothing for this system, I think, handles analog.
Well, this does support the JAG controller.
Well, but it was not analog either.
Well, I'm just saying it does support it. I had less trouble. I had more. It's funny. I had some trouble getting this to work, but I did manage to get the controls. I also played with the keyboard, by the way. I also did very little shooting, which I always do in these. To me, this game. Listen, this game is a rip-off of the other 100 games that are rip-offs. I mean, it's just exact. There's nothing here that I hadn't seen before. I will say there were a few things I did enjoy that always bugged me. When you go through tunnels in this or under bridges, it actually lets you see where you're at. That's something that always drives me nuts in almost every other game. This has a simple, almost like a little arrow that comes up as a placeholder. That is a great idea. That should have been implemented in every game of this sort, and it was not. Because I can't tell you how many times I'd get stuck under these tunnels, and when you get stuck under there or you get wrecked, you have a heck of a time working your way out, and it really costs you. So, but otherwise, I thought this was, I'll be honest, it was sound and graphic-wise, it was sub-Amiga.
I agree.
I don't mean sub-Amiga AGA. I mean sub-Amiga that came out in '85. It just, this was no.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I think it ran. Scrolling of the screen, and the smoothness of the racers, I think, are above what you could have done in '85 on an Amiga.
Well, what I'm saying is the Amiga had games that came out like this on the old chipset that worked, that were just as attractive and sounded better, and they were compatible with that old machine. This had been surpassed on the Amiga. So my guess is when this company put this together, they were like, let's release something for the Falcon. They got to have something, and they put it together, and that would explain it, because it does look kind of chintzy with the art. It's dopey looking, and again, I will say this implemented the shooting in this is implemented stupidly, but it looks okay. I mean, I've seen, but I mean, I don't know why you would add that. The name is. Even the name sounds dated. This is like a game that someone found, that someone was working on for the Falcon or working on for the ST, and they're like, listen, let's go ahead and polish this sucker up and release it. I mean, I did find a box for this, which that right there in itself was a pretty good deal. But I mean, I wouldn't give this thing. Would I give this high praise for a Falcon game? Probably, given what I've played. It's the best one I've played so far. But in terms of would this stand up on even on a Super Nintendo or something? No, it would get. It would at bare minimum be average.
No, I agree. And
that's not why you buy your expensive supercomputer. Of course, by this time, you probably could have released Tic-Tac-Toe and they would have bought it. Would you say 96 or whatever?
Yeah, 95, 96. Yeah. The best part of this game was the turbo feature, or your nitro, whatever you want to call it. When you hit it, you take off like a jet, and it is straight line. You can turn, but just basically barely turn. So you basically choose a straightaway and you hit it, and different racers have different amounts of nitro.
Yeah.
So the first time around the track, if you're not familiar with the track, you don't hit nitro because you don't know what straightaways are long enough. And then you hit the nitro button, you whiz down the straightaway, and then if you choose a different character that's a longer nitro, and you hit that same straightaway and you hit it, and then you just fly right into the wall because you can't turn enough when you hit your nitros. I thought that was a fun addition. I thought that was a neat little way of making nitros and then making it unique between each character. I thought that was a fun implementation of nitro that hasn't really been done in that way, in my opinion.
In this sort of game, it's not one you see. I've seen it's done in a 3D version,
right.
This game, though, I mean, I will say this. I'm guessing most of the listening audience doesn't have a Falcon. If you're into this sort of game, and this is a hidden gem. I'm going to strap this on the end of this thing. If you played Supercars 1 and 2 on the Amiga, there was a PC hack release called Supercars 3. It didn't come out on the Amiga. It's a PC game. I actually talked to the author of this game, and it's really good. This sort of game. So and I'm sure there are more modern ones, but if you want to get real creepy, if you still want to struggle to play it but not that much, go look up Supercars 3, the PC version, and give that a shot on your PC. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, which it's better than this, I might add. But this one, it was okay. That's as good as I can do with it.
I'll be honest, I enjoyed this game. It was probably somewhat in combination with the effort to get it running and then it not completely sucking.
Yeah.
So But I enjoy this. Would I tell people to go and learn how to... Okay, let's back up. Would I tell people to go buy a Falcon to play this game? Absolutely not.
I would tell someone to buy a Falcon right now just to have one because they're going to go up in value. I wouldn't do that.
Would I say learn how to use the emulator to load this on your Falcon emulator to find out and put all that stuff together? Probably not, unless you were into this kind of game. Would I tell someone to play this game if they went over to a buddy's house and it was already set up and ready to go? Yes.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah. So we did get one user review, our stalwart of user reviews, the Graham W. Vepke. He gave this a go as well. As a top-down racers are one of my favorite genres, this game had to impress me, and for the most part it did. I found the game to control quite well, and the auto-fire option is a nice touch. There is enough variety in tracks that you can upgrade your car, keeping your progression interesting. It looks fine, and the sounds are decent. I agree. Again, I pretty much agree with all that. The auto-fire, I didn't care. And I was glad you could turn the music off. Yeah. Overall, it's a decent game, but I can't see this stopping me from choosing Supercars 2 on the Amiga or Slick and Slides on the PC instead. 7 out of 10. I
think that's fair.
I don't think I think that's too high. I mean, again, this is the Falcon. I'm judging this stuff. And when the Amiga can do a better job with crummier hardware, then you didn't get the job done. But again, they were desperate at this point. I should mention before we say farewell, a fond farewell, the Atari Falcon.
There's no flying.
If you would like to buy an Atari Falcon, you do see these things float by on eBay when you can catch them. I've seen them go for as little as $450 with a it might work thing going on, all the way up to well over $1,000, including, I saw one, I think it was one that was still in the box, 1,600 buckaroo-doos, big money, and but over $1,000 seems to be the norm. Now,
I would think you'd have to have quite a childhood connection to pay that much.
I would buy one of these in a heartbeat, to be honest with you, as we close this up, because they are rare. I think they would probably be fun to tinker with, but most importantly, they're not making them anymore. They're going to go up in price. So this is a collector's piece amongst collector's pieces. Now, something else we've got here that's a collector's item in my mind, and that's the wheel. Let's give this thing a run. I'll tell you something. I've never been so happy to move away from this has been 2 arduous weeks on ARG Presents, and we're excited to move along. The wheel is filled with the wackiest things we could possibly think of.
Yeah,
Brent.
this is a scary wheel spin.
Yeah, we've got we don't know, who knows what we're gonna get. So give this thing a whirl.
Please, Mr. Wheel, be kind.
Yeah.
I've been very ill.
We added games that took us over 50 hours, and we also added what was the other one we added this week, Brenny?
We added I don't know.
The ECOC cassette vision or whatever. And the winner is...
Let me see here.
What's the winner, Brent? Would you just tell me what is
the
it?
Dick Smith Super 80.
Ooh, the Dick Smith, baby! Now, I've got to thank my good buddy, my good friend, the Huck, Gary Hucker, for telling me about the Dick Smith. Now, the Dick Smith is an Australian/New Zealand computer, and I will, underneath this video, I'll link up Gary's incredibly awesome video on the Dick Smith. When he showed us this, I was like, I got to play that. We got to put that on the web. So I had Brent make a piece up. It's going to be awesome, Brent. It's going to be awesome. The Dick Smith. Just because it's called the Dick Smith computers. That's awesome right there. No?
I don't want to struggle with another emulator.
Well, I'm hoping this won't be that bad. I think this one runs right out of mess. You shouldn't have any trouble. So, just a little cleanup here before the end of the show. We want to thank the awesome, super talented, Duncan Styles, who made us an awesome Halloween intro. If you were watching the video or heard it, and in the motif of strange things. Of course, we sicked our way right through Halloween, didn't we? But I was like, screw it, we're putting it on here anyway. I've had it queued up for 2 weeks. We're going to use it. And, of course, Duncan is responsible for all the cool graphics on here. Of course, I want to thank BarkBit, who does our closing theme. BarkBit, talented mod creator. Brent, what's the scoop as we draw near? What's the scoop on the Thanks for Giving Marathon? There's been a few changes, one of which, of course, is that it will be streamed on Twitch. We do know that. What else we got cooking on this thing, Brenny?
I don't know.
There it is.
Give me a week to get healthy and I'll let everybody know the
we have
details.
closed the submission for the pie pieces. So if you submitted a pie piece on Discord or on our email, as you see above here, ARG Presents at mail.com, those are being manufactured as we speak. Highly detailed embossing and whatnot going into those beautiful pie pieces that'll be stuck in the wheel for our 10-hour Thanks for Giving Marathon. Again, if you're new to the show or have forgotten because you missed us for so long, the Thanks for Giving Marathon is just our way of over here at the Amigos family of shows of saying, hey, thanks for helping us out on these multiple long Amigathons that we did and giving all this money to charity. And so we thought we would just do a long series of games just for fun. No charity involved, no money, no fundraising, no angling for cash, just for fun. So we're going to stay out here in the Amigo studio east for 10 straight hours of gaming goodness. And we're going to use your suggestions on wheel pieces as what we play, right, Brent? We're going to spin these things. And every so often, at a determined amount of time, we'll give it another spin and move right on to the next thing, depending on how many pie pieces I've guessed that we've got. We've gotten a lot on Discord. We've gotten several good ones on email as well, and several people have sent in more than one. We'll probably might use them all. I don't know. It depends on how you want to play it.
Anything we don't get to, we'll just shuffle right into the show rotation.
That's right. Oh yeah, good idea, because we're always looking for more, including just like Dick Smith this week. This is one that was submitted by. Or that was suggested by Graham, and I was like, man, we got to get this one. Listen, I know you're down on this, but I'm telling you, this is going to be a lot of fun, and this thing looks like a real corker of a machine.
I'm not down on the Dick Smith. I'm just down on I want 1 week where everything just works.
Now,
just works. That's all I'm asking.
I think the question on everyone's mind, Brent, there's two questions. One,
am I going to survive?
That was one question. When are you going to not be ill? Is this everybody? I mean, it seems like it's been years now.
I've penciled it in somewhere around January, but we'll have to see.
Unfortunately for Brent, he literally lives in a shanty shack and he has one burning piece of log. Is that what the problem is? No, wait, no, you live in a luxurious home with great heat.
I live under Amiga Studios East.
He lives in the studio. Right off camera is his cot. He's got his laundry hanging up over here.
No, I have bad sinuses, and when I get sick, it takes for a lot for me to get over.
No kidding. The other big question is, since this is the second show in a row where we've not live streamed, is when are we rejoining the live stream? Well,
yes, Aaron.
I'm going to address this.
When are we going to do the live stream?
I will take the hit this week since I did not get the information I needed to get Twitch live streaming working on the Amigos channel. And so, hopefully, next week, I'll have all this information plugged in, and we will be back in action live. This week is going up the exact 1 second after we finish it. It goes right up to YouTube. So let's go with almost live. But next week, hopefully, at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, our show will be finally back live. It's funny how many years. We went a good solid year or at least 8 months, and no live, nothing. We never did anything live. And then we started doing it live, and it was going great. And then the second it was going great, the YouTube hosed us.
I mean,
and it all went down to the toilet. So that's the way. I tell you, what are you gonna do? YouTube, right? And I will say, I've read a lot of, including one that you shared, a lot of harrowing accounts of people having all sorts of trouble with YouTube. The one you sent over was quite scary, where people were being banned for flashing up colored emojis that were in line with what the chat was talking about due to picking directions at a game.
Yep.
And these people weren't just losing their YouTube account, they were losing their Google account.
Yep.
Horrible.
An update on that, Google has finally, almost a week after it happened, they're beginning to reinstate those accounts, but it should have never happened.
Yeah, horrible. So something needs to be done over there. It's getting crazy. But c'est la vie. So remember next week, Dick Smith, and with knock on wood, we'll be healthy, we'll be live, and we'll be ready to survive. Brandon, you got any final thoughts?
Two out of three of those would be great.
Until then, Falcon.